Okay, so we were learning as follows. We said in Hilchos Amirah L'Akron, you get two things you have to separate. One is what and how you can tell the guy. Another thing is when you can get hana from it afterwards. Two separate topics. Now, we also pointed out that there are 9 places where Amirah L'Akron is mutter, right? It's mutter, and in general, you can get hana there as well, with some limitations here and there. Okay, so the list, if we did 1, somebody sick enough to be in bed, we did that topic. 2, for Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, you want to buy a piece of property in Eretz Yisrael, you can have the guy sign the documents for you. That's 2. Number 3, it was for a mitzvah d'Rabbi, a public mitzvah, like the Eruv came down or something like that. You fix it up for the mitzvah, public mitzvah. 4, 4, we said, if you like, it's called Zmano Bo. Erev Shabbos, you all of a sudden you're on the road, and in Shabbos you have to get rid of your wallet and stuff. You give it to a guy to take the town, and then the guy will, give it to you after Shabbos. Okay, those are the 4 we did. Now we're up to 5. Number 5 is Bizayon Kisvei HaKodesh. The Kisvei HaKodesh are going to be Bizayon. This is a halacha in Shin Lamed Daled Seif Yud Ches. That so Simon talks about a fire, what you can say, what you can't say. So it says over here, Kosru Mishum Gaon. They wrote in the name of a Gaon, Shamutar Lomar Le'eni Yehudi. You can tell a goy, Lahatzil Svarim min Adaleka, to save Svarim from a fire. Afilu Derech Rishus HaRabbi. Even though he's going to have to carry the Svarim out through Rishus HaRabbi, a public thoroughfare, and be over, I'm telling you to do a malach of carrying outside. That's what it says over here, okay? And the Mishnah Brewer writes here in Sivkotan Mem Tes, the Shvus Amir Le'Yehudi, the Isud Rabbanim telling God to do something is permissible because of Bizayon Kisvei HaKodesh. It's not just Tanakh, it's even Gemaras and other Sfarim are included in this. That is number 5. Okay, number 6 is Tsar Balei Chayim. Animals in pain, you're allowed to tell a guy to do something. Now, the civic halacha is you have a cow and the cow has to be milked. You're not allowed to milk a cow on Shabbos, and you can tell the guy to do it. It says here in Shin Hei Sivcha, Mutar Lomar Le'eni Yehudi, you tell the non-Jew, Lachlo Behemto to milk the cow, Mishum Tsar Balei Chayim. Because it's Tsar Balei Chayim, Shachalav Mitzara, it's overloaded with milk, the animal is in pain. Look, it says here, the Mishnah Brewer writes, if you can, it's better that they should milk into food. Mishnah Brewer says, Nine Gimel at the end, because then it's a drabanan, so it's a double drabanan. But if not, you can tell them stop to milk the cow. That is number 6. Now, number 7, this is a really halacha l'maisa thing. You can something that you cannot do because it's a psikration. In other words, it's a darshan of iskama, but it's a psikration, correct? You can tell the guy to do it on Shabbos. This is in 2 places. The Ramah has this in Reish Nun Gimel at the end. After the Machaber there, after all the Machabers there in Sif Aleph, Reish Nun Gimel Sif Aleph, you have a pot that's on the coals. And a Jew has a problem taking the pot off the coals because there's a way that when you move the pot, the coals are going to move. And it's a psikration, they might burn. So Ramah says there, you tell the guy to do it. This is also found in the Mishnah Brura in Reish Ayin Zayin Sivkoten Tezvot. It's a question of whatever, moving a candle or something for something, we want the candle off of something. And if your Jew shakes it off, it's probably going to go out, right? So you tell the guy to do it, it says over here. It says that you should do with the guy. And the Mishnah Brewer writes here, the b'makom shein miskaving, where it's a dover shein miskaving, is permissible to a guy. I feel psikration, even though it is a psik ratio. Now, the reason is because since the davar she'eino miskaveh, therefore even though it's a psikresha, but he doesn't have kavana, the malacha doesn't relate back to the Jew. Malacha does not relate back to the Jew. Okay, based on that, excuse me, Shmir Shabbos Kochosa writes in Perek Lamed Aleph Halacha Beis, you can tell a goy on Shabbos to use the hot water, turn on the hot water, right? Use it, even though cold water is going to come into the dud, and they're going to get heated up either by the other hot water there, or even if it's possible, even the heat, the thing will go on. It doesn't matter, right? You got to tell the guy to use that water. Similarly, it says over here, that's halacha beis. Halacha aleph, it says here you can tell the guy to take out or to put back something in the refrigerator, even though the light's going to go on and off when you open it and close it, because the guy has no kavana. He just wants to get the thing out of the refrigerator. That's what it says here. Now, if you look here in the footnote, Aleph, he points out over here as follows, that according to the Vilna Gaon, he thinks you should be machmir if it's a psikresha demichale. So it comes out, you can't tell the guy, open the fridge and I'll get it out, because then I want the light to go on. Tell the guy to open the fridge and you get it out. This is what he explains, because then, the one who's going to be then is the guy. It's not my problem. And then he has over here, not over here, excuse me. What about turning on the hot water? So look at the newest edition of Shmir Shabbos. He adds a word. You can tell the guy on, turn on the hot water, turn on the hot water. 1 second, okay? Yaakov will give you 1 second. Tell the guy to turn on the hot water if the guy is going to use it, but not for you. You tell him you can't tell the guy open the fridge and I'll get the stuff out. Or don't tell the guy to turn on hot water, then I will use it. He doesn't say that. Why not? Because then it's a consideration of the Hilchos. And according to the Vilna Gaon, that is no good. Yeah, Yaakov. You want to say something? Yaakov? Your hand is blocking the camera.
With the case of the fridge, do we split the fridge with the light on? Sorry. With the fridge and the light on, do we say that's only true by guy or
I can't understand you. There's something wrong with the electric. You're talking very
yeah, whatever. He wants outsiders. I guess let's have to.
Yaakov, just send me the question. You can't hear you.
Oh, what? Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Rabbi, just continue. And
Okay,
then listen to us.
Okay, sorry. Okay. Then I don't know. Shlomo Zalman has like histagliyot from the whole heter. He writes in the Miluim. He's not really sure the heter is right. And then there's another thing he says here in the footnote that we're looking at it that it's a davar she'eino miskaven, because you open the fridge and that causes it light to go on. But he says that's the way the whole mechanism works. The whole mechanism works, and that's how you turn on the light, right? Yeah, he says maybe that's not a problem. Whatever, you have to look at the whole footnote over there. Now, even though there seems to be something heavily point about it, Ramosha Feinstein though has the heter also. He has it over here in Orachaim Chelik Beis Simon Samaches. Orachaim Chelik Beis Simon Samaches, and he writes over here. You have the guy open the fridge because it's a davar she'eino miskaven. That's what he writes. That's what he writes. He holds that you can have the guy. Doesn't say that the guy has to take it out. Doesn't say any of that here.
Rabbi.
Yeah.
Yago sent me. Do we allow one to use a fridge that has a light on, which was opened by Katan or Shota, since they like a non-Jew or Pater from Hilchos Shabbos?
Look, Ramosha writes over here. Where did I see this? Give me a second. Does he say, where did I see this? Where did I see? I saw something about this. I thought, I don't remember where it is. One moment here. Right. It's not here. Place here. Okay, I saw this somewhere. Oh, here. One second. No. Okay, I don't know. Okay, I have to get back to you on that. Okay, then I'll get back to you. Okay. mm, 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 mm. Okay, that was number 7. Now, number 8 is as follows. Now, there's a halacha if a fire breaks out on Shabbos, and there's no question of anybody's life being in danger. For example, a little house in the prairies alone, whatever it is, it's not going to, just the question whether your property is going to get lost, but nobody's going to get hurt, or anything. Not like, I guess, in a city where you can burn down the neighborhood or something. You have to be afraid of that. It's like you won't catch anything else. It's clear, whatever. Then you're not allowed to put your fire out. And you can't even say things in general, except the food you eat for Shabbos, because you're afraid is the person rogue, the person so bold with his money, he might end up putting things out and doing he's not supposed to do. Okay. So here, though, there's a heter of Amira L'Akum, but it's a little bit qualified. You can't tell the goy outright to put out the fire. Halacha here is, this is in Shin Lamed Daled, Sif Chavav. The Chaver writes as follows. You can tell in front of a goy, whoever puts out the fire won't lose. It's all pay him something afterwards. You can't say put it out. Whoever puts out the fire won't lose. And even if there's no goy here, you can call a goy to come, right? Even though when the goy comes, he's going to put it out, right? You tell him whoever puts it out won't lose. Now, the Piskei Tshuva here quotes in Os Vav that there are those who hold that the whole problem is only on the owner of the house, the person who owns the property. But if there's some third party here, right, then he can tell us a guy to put it out because he's not so out of stress to save the money. Okay, he can tell the guy to put it out outright. Then it says here as well, you can tell a guy to put out a fire in a guy's house, in his house or another guy, correct? Even though his intent is that a Jew's house should spread to a Jew's house. Okay. Now there's a big machlokas on the following point. What if you knew about this before Shabbos, right? So that is a machlokas. And look at the Mishnah Brura here in Shin Lamed Daled Os Ayin, and it's not pushy, but it's mutter. It's a little bit, right? You're right. The Beis Yosef quote says that no, even if you didn't do it, you can do it, correct? And so the Achronim don't quote this. It's mashma they're not so pushy. This is right at all. Okay. Now the question is: this limited to a fire or not? Okay. The two shittas here in Shulchan Aruch about this in Shin Zayin Sif Yud Tes. Is this heter only limited to a fire or to other cases of loss. So the Mechaber writes over here in Shin Zayin, Sif Yutes as follows. Schora, you have merchandise that's going to get ruined because of rain or something else. I don't know, there's a river rising, right? Correct? And he's going to lose money. Or his barrel of wine, which has a lot of wine, got a hole and all the wine's going to spill out, whatever. You can tell the guy, all right, even though the guy is going to help, right? And you can also say whoever saves it won't lose, just like a fire. Then he writes, Yesh Misha Omer Shalom Mutter. They say no. He said there's only by a fire. Two shitas in the Machaber. The Mishnah Brewer writes over here in Sivkot Ayin Aleph, Hamek lo hipsik. You make you don't lose. Okay, that was number 8. Number 9 is our last on our list here. If it is ben hashmashos, and it's for a mitzvah or a tzorach gadol. This is found both in the Simon Shin Mem Beis. I think the whole thing is one sif there. And this is also found in Shin Zayin Sif Chaf Beis. Now, the Mer Halacha writes there in Shin Mem Beis that even if the Dvar Mitzvah is not something critical, but it adds him a little Oneg Shabbos, right? This is also considered a Dvar Mitzvah. You tell the guy to do something which is a Dvar Mitzvah, even though it's not, you have to have it. Just add Oneg Shabbos. Lashon the Ber Halacha is as follows. Anything which is the tzorach of Shabbos, even though he could do without it, but he's going to add Oneg Shabbos, it's considered tzorach mitzvah, and he can tell the goy ben hashmashos to do. That's what he writes over here. So it says over here, one moment. And he says over here in the Mishnah Brura, the end of the Simon, it's not only for a meal, even if you tell him to put a light on it and you have some light in the room you're sleeping, it can also be made. That's what he writes, because otherwise it'll be if it's more enjoyment. That's what he writes. Okay? That's what he writes over here. Now, this is only if it's Ben Hashmashos Friday afternoon. Ben Hashmashos on Shabbos, at the end of Shabbos, is a problem. Okay? It's a problem at the end of Shabbos. He writes over here as follows. Look in the Magen Avraham. There's a suffix. The Ben Hashmashos at the end of Shabbos. It could be the Shulchan Aruch only talking about Friday Ben Hashmashos. And at the end of the day is even in the beginning of Shabbos. Because we suffix, Kedusha doesn't leave. You know, Shachar once said it depends upon whether there's Chazaka on Zman. Right? And the Chayot writes you should be Machmir. And the Beis Mir says that what doesn't really make a difference. Correct? Machlokas over here. Okay? But then he says, the Beis Mir says, though, the Maisa should be Machmir. For other reasons. Okay, the bottom line is the Shmir Shabbos Kilchasa is Machmir over here in Perkalam and Allah Chaftalin. But they couldn't name Rabbi Yosef that he's a Mekel. Okay. Now, this is the Kalkel to Shabbos writes. Benish Marshals for this is only the first 3/4 of meal after Shkia, right? Which is on Arab Shabbos, which is the first 13 and a half minutes, right? 3/4 of 18. Period. Okay, those are all the 9 and 10 from Amira. Period. Now, next point. Let's assume you tell a guy to do something which is only usher for you midrabban. It's called a shvus d'shvus, like a double rabban. Shvus d'shvus. You tell the guy to do something which is you only isur d'rabban. So here, there are 2 shitas about it in Shin Zayin Sifhei, but the Mishnah Brewer there in Sifkat and Chav Gimel says we're Mako, like the Mako sheet. And they are A. The guy's a little sick. Now, we're not talking about Ben Shmas. We're talking about in the heart of Shabbos. The guy's a little sick. Now, if the guy's sick enough to be in bed, that's clear it's mutter. But and then you can tell the guy to do a doraisa. Well, let's assume the guy's just a little sick. He's a little sick. No? So, the guy's a little sick, not sick enough to be in bed. If you tell the guy to do something which is only drabanan, that's mutter. So if the guy has a cold, right? He moves around now. He needs vitamin C. So he wants orange juice, right? So you tell the guy to make him orange juice. If it's heat of orange juice, drabanan, you let it tell him. That is one. Okay. Now, two, tzarech mitzvah, for a mitzvah. Let's assume it's Rosh Hashanah today, not Shabbos. And some wise guy put the shofar on a tree. There's an Issa Drabanan to climb a tree on Yontif, Shabbos, Yontif. So you tell the guy, please climb the tree to get the shofar down. Now, over here, tzarech mitzvah, look in the Mishnah Berurah in Shin Chafei, in Sivka, in Samach and Samach Beis. This, since it's actually Shabbos, even though you tell the guy to do a drabanan, this is only the ikr things that you need for not any owning. Ikr things like the wine for Kiddush or the main hot food you have for Shabbos. Not any little thing. Here we're more mach. Now, so one is mixas koli, one is mitzvah. Now there's another one here which isn't so simple. It says there one of the hektarim is besides those two is tzorach harvest. There's a great necessity. You look in the Mishnah Berurah Chafez that this is not agreed to by everybody. And some say that this is only if it's Sarah group, pain or something, but otherwise not. Here, the lashon here is moment. It says here tzorach harvest. And Mishnah Berurah writes, look at the Magen Avraham. It's only in great loss, and not without this. And the Rabbi says even if it's great loss, it's not true, right? But you look down here, right? So it's only if there's tsar guf. So again, we have 9 things that are mutter even on Shabbos in all its details. A double drabanan has its own kulas, right? Go ahead, tell the guy to do this to drabanan. Now, I just want to make a side point, and that is as follows. Sometimes you tell a guy to do something. The guy, hello, could do it, in a way that's mutter on Shabbos. The guy, it's more convenient, does it with the malacha. That's not your problem. That's the guy just helping himself. I remember once in a while they were eating somewhere else, not in the cafeteria. They called the guy to bring it there. So the guy, it was a flight up. The guy took the elevator to bring things up. He could have carried it up the stairs. Fine. But the guy's on convenience. He's got to take the elevator. Or as follows. This is found in Rabbi Rubi's Islamic Testimony, page 81. You tell the guy to wash the dish. You can wash the dish in cold water. He turns on the hot water. Fine. And he started to use a sponge, which is no problem. That the guy's making life easy for himself. That is not your problem. Now, what's the story? You want to heat up the food on Shabbos, and you have to put it back, right? So there's a bare halacha about this in Reish Nun Gimel Sifhei Diba Masker Lahachi. So he says, if it's dry food, no, putting dry food back on the blach is only an Yisur de Rabbanan, right? Through hot food on Shabbos. Shvus to shvus, tell the guy to do it is mutter b'makom mitzvah. So I was dealing with soup now, because soup, there might be a problem bishul achar bishul. So he says there, if it's a tzarech Shabbos and there's no other eights and needs it, maybe you can be makel. And as you lie then, ain't bishul achar bishul and lach. Okay, now I told you again, I said this again today. There are 2 topics here. One is what you can tell the guy. So that we're finished with. We discussed when you can hint, how you can hint. We did all that. Telling one guy to tell another guy. The 9 places it's mutter. What about a shvus to shvus? We're finished with all that. Now, next topic is, the guy did something, right? Can you be nana from on Shabbos? This is the second topic. Okay, so as follows. There's an Issa, a guy did something new on Shabbos. There's an Issa drabanan to be nana. And next week you might tell him in the future to do it. That is in Reish Ayin Vav Mishnah Berurah Sivkat and Beis. Now, if a guy did it for one person, right? And then the guy did it for Uve. Can Shimon be Nana? So if it's an Isur Doraisa, Shimon cannot be Nana. However, if it's only Isur Drabanan and he did it for Uve, then Shimon can be Nana. You can find this in Reish Ayin Vav Sif Aleph in the Mishnah Berurah Gimel. Now, let's say the guy did it for himself or did it for another guy. You have to break this down into two things. One is where it's one act, whether one person is Nana or everybody is Nana. The guy put on the lights in the room, right? It's either on or off, right? So then, right, it's one thing. They have another thing. The guy cooks something new. So depending on how many people are going to eat, you need more. So right now we're discussing it's one thing. So the guy put on the light for himself or some other guy, you can be Nana. This is Reish Ayin Vav Sif Aleph, right? And the principle is, the Shabur writes in Ches, Ner li echad ner lemeya. A candle for one is a candle for everyone. Now, I think it's that phrase comes from Mishnah and Trumos, that, you know, if you have Truma Tameya, a Kohen is allowed to use it to burn. So let's assume there's a Kohen who lives on the street, and they want to use it to put on to burn in the street lights. I think they do it for the Kohen, like, and then everybody else can use the street light because near the Echad, near the Meya. Okay. You have to be careful. Let's say Rabbi Blackman's Shiur, so the two light switches there. So if the guy walks in and wants to sit, Rabbi Blackman sits and puts that light on, okay. But if he sees you in the room, he puts the other switch on at the back of the room, that's going to be a problem already. Perhaps. I mean, the more details we have to learn in a minute. Okay, but often, theoretically, that could be somewhat problematic. Now, let's assume the guy did it both for the people are here. No? So it's goy, the Jews and goyim here. So it says in Sif Beis, Reish Ayin Vav Sif Beis, you follow the row. If most of the people here are goyim, we assume it's done for goyim. If most of the people here are Jews, we assume it's done for Jews. If it's 50-50, it's also. It has to be row of goyim, Reish Ayin Vav Sif Beis. Now, but the Shulchan Aruch said, let's assume they're mostly Jews here. But you know for a fact he did it for a goy, or he did it for himself, then it's mutter. You don't know, you assume he did it for the row, right? You have to have a row of goy. But if you know he did it for her, then he did it for goy, it's okay. Let's assume you know that he did it for both. He specifically did it for both goyim and Jews. So the Magen Avram, according to Mishnah Berurah in Sifkat Yud Zayin, says it's also. There's a long bear halacha that Dira Matzavim who says, no, it's not agreed by everybody. It's going to be Makel. He did it for both, it's mutter. Okay. Now, this is a critical halacha. This is in the Mechaber in Reish Ayin Vav Sif Dalet. The guy turned on the light in the room for me. Now, before the guy turned on the light, there was some light in the room, right? And I could have read, but it's hard, but I could have read. Now the guy put on the light, so I can read easily. That's mutter. Anything I could do beforehand, even though it's easier now, that is permissible. Now, it says there, for example, it's also in the Mishnah Berurah in Shin Zayin Os Ayin Vav. Let's assume as follows. Let's assume there's a candle in the room. I mean, there's some candle in the room, right? And then the guy puts on a bigger light, whatever. So I can use whatever I can do by the candle, I can do now, correct? But if the candle then goes out in an hour, and all I have is a guy's light, forget it, then I can't do it. So on the Mechaber there in Sif Dalet. Now, halacha here is as follows. If it is pitch black in the room, right, and the guy puts on the light, do I have to leave? Do I have to leave my house? He puts the light on, correct? So the rules in general are that normally not, unless I told the guy to do it, then I have to leave. Here we are. It says in the Shiur Shabbos here, in Perek. Where am I? Wrong place. When there's there's some light in the room, even though Periklam and Allah is lying, but it's not easy to read. I can tell the guy I can't read here, or there's not enough light. Or I can say the light is not lit, well. I'm just telling him the facts without hinting at all. Then the guy, if he's smart enough, will turn it on, and then I can get Hana, correct? Because I could have done it before. That's what he writes. You can't say, do me a favor, there's not enough light in the room. That's already hinted. That's no good. And if the room is pitch black, then I can't get Hana, even though he even put the light on himself without even me hinting whatsoever, telling him anything whatsoever. Okay. And if the guy put on the light and I couldn't read a B'chlau without that, you're not even allowed to learn Torah or David with the light, with using that light. Doesn't matter. That's halacha Zayin. Now, he writes, if the Jew told the guy to put the light on, then he's got to leave the place. You don't have to get Hanoah. If the Jew sees that the guy wants to turn on the light for him, right, without him telling him, right, he should stop it. Right? Period. So then, but if he didn't stop him, he doesn't have to leave the house. And you get Hanoah what he could have done before. Seder.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
would it be good to try to hint him to turn off the light?
Oh, where is that? That I think they say somewhere is mutter because you're not getting Hanoah from it. The darkness is natural. No. I will check that, Leonetta.
And I'm also saying if he already turned it on to get it back to not benefiting from it.
I'm sorry, repeat what you just said.
To get back to not benefiting from it by asking him to turn it off so that you would be able to.
L'chora, if my answer to the first question is yes, l'chora, you can't say turn it off, but you can say I can't, I can't do anything now. So then l'chora, it would be mutter. What are you going to do? You can't do too much there anyway. Okay. One moment. There's one other place I wanted to check here. None. Yes. Where are we here? Can't be. It says here in Halacha Nun Ches as follows. If the guy shined the Jew's shoes without the Jew telling him, you're allowed to wear it because you wore them without the shining, right? So, next, these are all things that you don't have more value for the Jew. Now, something that you have to add on based on how many people use it. So the rules are here as follows. So 3 scenarios, correct? If the guy doesn't know you b'chlal, then it's mutter, right? Then it's mutter. Look in Shin Chaf Hey in the Mishnah Berurah Nun Beis. Okay, 1. If then, excuse me, not incorrect. Mishnah Berurah in Nun Aleph and Samach Ba. If the guy knows you, but he didn't know you needed it now, that's a machlokas. That's a machlokas. And the Mishnah Berurah and Samach Ba, what are we afraid of? Because next week he'll add on. Next time. And the Dean of the Mishnah Berurah is Samach Ba with Eisat Tzorach B'nei Mekel. What's necessary? And if he did it for you, then it's awesome. Period. So again, I go in reverse order. If he did it for you, it's awesome. even though he did it for himself, because he, he did it for you. If he knows you but didn't know you needed it now, that's a machlokas. They say so to be mekel. If he doesn't know you, then it's mutter. It's already, you don't have to worry about this time or no next time. Now,
Rabbi,
yes.
question from Yaakov. He says, if we say that it was slightly light and then the non-Jews turned on a light and you could use the light since you were already able to see, let's say you're able to see due to sunlight, then non-Jews turned on the light, but now that it's getting dark towards Shabbos, and can you still get enough from the light?
Then you have to stop, okay? As long as you can't read, okay? Look, it can be no geya. You're in Keren B'Avnia, and the lights on the outside are on. And then all of a sudden, the street lights go off for some reason. Right? And anywhere. All these things. There's a guy's light, whatever. Or how can be 100 different things, okay? Period. Next. There's some chumrah about food. You have to look in Shin Chafei Sif Dalet. There's a shita that if it's dealing with food, even though the guy doesn't know me, but since people are very lahut after food, if guy makes it on Shabbos, you can't be nana. Halacha is though that b'shas hatchak or the tzorach mitzvah you can be mekel. There's in Shin Chafei Sif Dalet. The difference is how you have to explain this macabre over here. Somebody explain some other way. Bread that was goy baked for himself on Shabbos, some say it's osur and some say it's mutter. In an emergency for a mitzvah like a shvuah or bris milah, or if you need it for a motzi, right? You can rely on those who are making. Fine. Next, now with a goy, if he did, let's say a goy did something for you on Shabbos, right? Now what? You can't be nana on Shabbos, and you can't be nana after Shabbos, right? Ad b'chtei shiyasu. In Shin Zayin Tzivcha. Right? Now, how much is b'chtei shiyasu? So this big machlokas Rishonim. Mechaber passes in Shin Chafei Sivches, the time it takes to do the malacha. It takes a half hour to do it, so you have to wait a half hour after Shabbos, because then you could have told the guy after Shabbos. The Ramah is another shita who says that's not always enough. You have to wait until the next time the malacha is done. Let's say the malacha cannot be done at night. The guy, I don't know, something off the tree or something. I don't know, whatever the story is. So, malacha can't be done at night. So you have to wait till tomorrow b'chtei shiyasu. That's the halacha. Let's say it's a service provided by the municipality, and they do it on Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, and they did it for you on Saturday. You can't be nana until Monday, and that amount of time. Now, Mishnah Berurah Paskin, how do we paskin? If it's a malacha drabanan, you can be mekel. If it's a malacha d'oraisa, you should be machmir, like the Ramah. But if it's for a mitzvah, you can be mekel. Now, let's assume it's worse. The guy didn't do it. I told the guy to do it, right? You don't have to wait more than b'chtei shiyasu. Right? You don't have to wait more. Okay? Look at the Mechaber in Shin Zayin Tzivcha. Now, this is a critical point here, and that is as follows. This whole thing, you have to wait b'chtei shiyasu, is if the guy did it for you. But let's assume the guy did it for himself. Just the problem, he might be marba b'shurim, because he knows you need it, whatever the story is. If he maybe added on, right? Chash because of that. So then, after Shabbos, you can be nana right away. You don't have to wait b'chtei shiyasu. This is in Reis Ayin Vav Sif Beis. Tov. Now, there's a Mishnah in Shabbos, and the question is, what can we extrapolate from this Mishnah? Mishnah in Shabbos is on Kuf Nun Aleph Amidei. If Goyim dug a grave for a Jew, a certain Jew on Shabbos, or they made a casket for him, whatever it is, that Jew can never be buried in that grave, in that casket, ever, ever, ever. Because it was public Hilchos Shabbos for a specific Jew. Another Jew can be buried in it, but not this Jew. That's the halacha. Now, There's a major machlokus rishonim. You have to look at the Mishnah Berurah in Shin Zayin Sifkan Ayin Beis, and in Shin Chaf Hey Sif Yud Dalid, and the Mishnah Berurah Ayin Gimel over there. Rabbi writes over here in Shin Chaf Hey Sif Yud Dalid.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
what about city trash pickup on Yom Tov during the week? Are you not allowed to leave the bin out since it's kind of like asking them to remove it?
Is that like telling them to do it? My gut reaction is mutter, but I think why. That look, you're not being nana from it necessarily afterwards. You put it out of your house on Friday. Is that like telling the guy to do it? I don't know. It's probably more like you put the thing in the mailbox. You're not telling when to deliver the letter. You have to know they do it then. But even on the mailbox, it says it's collected every day at, I don't know, 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 9 o'clock in the morning. I think it's mutter. Now, here, Mechaber writes here in Shin Chavei Sibidal, if the guy made a casket or a grave for himself, a Jew can be buried in it. Not for the Jew. But he made it for a Jew, his Jew should never be buried. And only this thing because it's something public. Because it was all known that it was done for this Jew. But if it's done quietly, then you wait b'chdei shiyasu. And even if it's done in public, the problem is only that Jew, but no one else. Now, there's a major machlokus here. Does this mean any melacha that was done for a Jew on Shabbos by a goy, that particular Jew can never be nana? It's a rule across the board. Or no, it's a localized halach here by a grave that it's a deny for a Jew to be buried in the grave that there was public Hilchos Shabbos for it. But other things, it doesn't matter. It's only done in the grave, but it's a general rule, right? Mishnah Berurah says, "Leis hatzorach yimiko." Okay, I'm almost finished with this topic. Leonetta will finish it next time. 3 things. So I have to get back to you about the